Coming up on Quays News. Is unemployment truly on the rise in the North West?
We visit Speak Up Manchester to find out more about climate change.
And this week, musicians come together in support of Manchester's homeless community. Good afternoon, welcome to the programme. First today, unemployment has risen sharply in the North West over the summer, while figures nationally have been in decline. Our reporter, Charles Creasy, has been to find out why our region bucks the trend.
Concilio et labore, through wisdom and work. But less Mancunians are in labour, as the latest figures show. Unemployment in the North West rose in the same period that unemployment nationally dropped. According to the Office of National Statistics, in the quarter to July, the North West unemployment rate rose by 7,000, but across Britain nationally, it dropped by 39,000. I spoke to the author of this report to find out why.
Well, the main reason is that there's been no investment in the North West or the North, or indeed Scotland, or in large parts of Wales. What happens, and we're still a member of the European Union, and I'm one of those who voted to stay in, is that money is attracted to the centre. So in Britain, the economic centre of Britain is clearly London and the areas around that. So you'll have a lower level of unemployment in those areas. In other areas, you'll have a higher level of employment.
Very briefly, could you just outline what was mentioned in that report and what you're proposing to do?
The whole issue of mental health is a major consideration. I've got to say, I've been in this job for a long time, and over the last 6 to 7 years, I've seen an increase in mental health, which almost exclusively has come through poverty. And that needs to be tackled. I was forced 4 years ago to put my staff through a suicide awareness course, because the advisors here and the receptionists were dealing with people who were so stressed, they openly said that they intended to take their lives.
The government has stressed the need to put the statistics in a broader context. A spokesman for the Department of Work and Pensions says, when it comes to our jobs market, we've made great progress since 2010, with employment up in every region. It's good news in the North West, where the number of people in work has risen by 67,000 over the past year, and there's a record 1.63 million women in work. It's important that we work to keep up this momentum so more people can make the most of opportunities available out there in the economy.
A partnership of organisations have joined forces for a week of action against global warming. Michael Sheridan has this report.
Climate change, greenhouse gases, CO2 emissions. All phrases we've been hearing since the early 1960s. We all know it's a crucial global issue, but why is it important to our local community? I went to Manchester's Speak Up event to find out more. Today is the launch event of a week of action against climate change here in Manchester. It's arranged by a group of organisations including Friends of the Earth and Christian Aid. Its aim is to inform the public of the 1 million ways they can play their part.
And you know, there's clearly a lot of energy amongst the activists in the room, and who really want to make a difference to Manchester and to the planet. Communities coming together, discussing issues together, but also learning. I learned a lot today.
It's been 7 years since Manchester Council issued a call to action, but organisations still say there is more to be done.
Certainly for local government, it's been a real issue around budget cuts, which has restricted what they can do. Part of it is also about culture. I guess they're used to working a certain way, and their view about what success is about economic growth. And sometimes that kind of masks what the real issues are, like inequality, like tackling climate change, like access to clean air and green spaces. So that's then up to us as individuals to say to our politicians that this is important to us.
This week of action comes just as the government have commissioned a new fracking site in Lancashire. It's clear the locals aren't happy about this, but what isn't clear is what will happen next. The organisations hope for a more sustainable Manchester by 2050. But just how practical these plans are in the current economic climate is yet to be seen. Michael Sheridan, Quays News, Manchester.
Manchester hosted its own Ladyfest this weekend, following cities like Los Angeles, Johannesburg and Berlin. It's been set up to celebrate female and feminist artists and to engage people with feminist issues. Fanny Kazaz reports.
I've come to the Northern Quarter, the heart of Manchester's feminist community.
For a second time, Manchester hosts Ladyfest, a feminist festival featuring concerts with an all-female lineup, exciting debates and discussions on feminist issues, and practical workshops to teach women technological skills such as video editing or coding.
Just to create an environment that promotes women in sort of roles traditionally dominated by men and give them the platform they have to sort of show their creativity and what they can do, and also to create the discourse with the workshops. So it's about doing something for women, by women, loving the ladies, basically.
Discussions of consent and rape and sex workers issues and reproductive rights.
So I'm new to the area and I just wanted to see what types of feminist programs were going on and kind of meet some of the people that were involved in women's equality.
I do study a lot of feminism at uni. I'm doing my dissertation in like feminist ethics as well, and it's something I've always been interested in. So, yeah.
Described as a celebration of music, art and ideas in the proud tradition of Manchester's talented, radical and creative women. This now I know to be true. This is Fanny Kazaz reporting for Quays News, Manchester.
This Sunday, the nation's best amateur bakers joined together in Albert Square as they competed to be named the 2016 Great Manchester Bake Off champion.
That's right. After battling through the heats, the final 10 competitors put their best signature bakes in front of the judges, including chocolatier John Slattery and food blogger Charlie Hewson-Sykes. With not a soggy bottom in sight, Nicola Shanahan from Gatley was crowned star baker with a spectacular 3-tiered Indian-inspired cake that wowed both the crowd and experts alike.
When I walked in, it looks amazing. It was absolutely beautiful and I could see the effort that's gone into. She's mixed all the icing colours, she's then laid them together, she's then decorated it, and then to cut it open and discover that inside is exactly the flavours that she's described. You can taste the cardamom, you can taste the mango and you can taste the coconut. Perfect.
Weekend, the increasingly popular Play Expo was at Event City, showcasing the best gaming has to offer. Our reporter Matthew Lansley went to have a look.
What is your favourite video game? Ask a different person, and you'll get a different answer.
Hundreds of gamers have descended on Event City in Manchester for the annual Play Expo, which is the biggest gaming festival in the north.
The event is also a haven for cosplayers, who are those who dress up as their favourite characters.
How long have you been cosplaying then?
On and off for maybe about 3 years.
And who are you dressed as today?
I'm dressed as Mercy from Overwatch. She's the healer kind of support character.
And what's your favourite part about this expo here?
Just the amount of games there are and how easy it is to kind of go sit down and just play a game. It's really fun, and some of the booths here are absolutely amazing. They're really good.
Development studios have also come here to whip up some interest about their latest projects. From small independent studios to established industry veterans, there's a game here for everyone.
Well, Unbox is about the ultimate postal service, self-delivering cardboard boxes. So it's a 3D platformer inspired by the 90s games that my team grew up playing. Our office is actually about 5 minutes around the corner, so we have no excuse not to be here. But it's actually a really good show. We've been coming for about 3 years now. Every year it's growing. There's this indie zone that has a lot of local developers. They've given us great support. So actually the founding members of Prospect are all CVG alumni. We graduated in 2010, went out into the industry, thought actually we kind of like doing things our own way. So moved back into Salford and set up our own company, and we got to work on games like Unbox shortly after that.
Whatever your personal opinions are towards video games, there's no doubt that events like this show that Manchester may have just reached the next level. Matthew Lansley, Quays News.
Musicians, including Brian Wilson, have recently come together in the creation of a free exhibition honouring the Beatles, renowned painting Images of a Woman. The exhibition is available to view until the 20th of October and also features interpretations from artists including the Libertines, Florence Welch and Elvis Costello. Ed Tyler joins us to talk more about this. Now, Ed, what can you tell me about what's going on here?
So basically, Images of a Woman came about in 1966. The Beatles were doing their world tour and they stopped in Japan, where Beatles mania was so huge that they weren't actually allowed outside of their hotel in between their shows. So what they did is they would come back to their hotel and they were provided with art equipment by their manager, Brian Epstein, who gave them a canvas and placed a lamp in the middle and told them to go and paint a corner each.
So is that because obviously there's 4 members of the Beatles, 4 corners, so they all work their way to the lantern, is that
exactly.
right? Yeah,
so they'd work on it for weeks. Apparently they would get back from their shows and they were dedicated to it, and once they finished, the lamp was removed and they all signed their names in the space left by the lamp.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's actually the only known work that they did all together. So they've all done things individually, but as a joint painting, it's the only known one, which is why it's so celebrated. So this exhibition is to celebrate that.
Yeah, and the exhibition is in Pretty Green, is that right? And where can people go and find it? How accessible is it?
Yeah, so Pretty Green is just a small shop on King Street owned by Liam Gallagher, and this exhibition is being put on for free there. It's also in London on Carnaby Street, also in Leeds and Glasgow. But here, if you go down to King Street, go into Pretty Green, it's a lovely shop, and just in the corner there are 5 paintings by various other artists and musicians, including Imagine Dragons and Brian Wilson. And they're really nice paintings. They're either inspired by the Beatles or they've got a flavour of their own, maybe a political message involved with them. And I quite like looking at them, and if you have any interest in the Beatles, then I'd definitely recommend it as something
Yes, you
to
would
do.
definitely recommend it for anyone else, and definitely recommend going to see them as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think with the Beatles, they're so celebrated in so many ways, and this is just another way to be able to do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ed.
Thank you.
Now, National Campaign Musicians Against Homelessness visited Greater Manchester last week in 16 events took place, and thousands of pounds were raised to help tackle the growing homelessness problem in the region. Sapphire Beamish has this report.
Homelessness in Manchester is on the rise. A recent head count by the council showed that homelessness was up by 79% between 2014 and 2015. The city now has more rough sleepers than anywhere else in the UK outside of London. Which is why Oasis guru Ali McGee set up the national campaign Musicians Against Homelessness with the aim to raise further awareness, with 16 gigs happening across Greater Manchester. All the proceeds from the gigs go to the homeless charity Crisis, whose mission is to end homelessness.
What happened, if you've read anything about it, it's a lady called Emma Rule who kind of came up with the idea of the whole thing. Her and her family had volunteered for Crisis every Christmas for a number of years. She just said, look, this is happening. Look at the homeless situation in this country. Look at the crisis point it's reached. And we're trying to do something. And I think a lot of people who basically wanted to do something, but you sort of think, well, who am I? I'm one person. What can I do? Saw that this was happening. And a load of musicians thought, well, we can use what we do to actually do some good in the country. So we just said we want bands to get in touch with us. Hundreds of bands in Manchester did. Thousands across the country did.
Tonight's gig is the last in the campaign for Manchester, but next year the organisers hope it will be back, raising more awareness and more money for homelessness. Sapphire Beamish, Quays News.
This weekend, a brand new bar, the Liquor Store, opened its doors. It's a unique attraction for Manchester. The bar is a version of Hollywood's Walk of Fame, based solely on Manchester's greats. Our very own star, Beth Hemmings, reports.
Have you ever wanted to walk down Hollywood's Walk of Fame? Well, this weekend you sort of could. For this weekend only, Mancunians had the opportunity to walk down Manchester's version of the Hollywood famous landmark, and they were calling it the Manchester Star Walk. The Manchester Walk of Fame, or the Star Walk, marks the launch of a brand new bar opening here in First Street, and it's called the Liquor Store. Owner Doug Walden set up a poll for members of the public to vote for the top 20 stars to come out of Manchester. Well, the votes are in and the public have had their say. There are certainly a lot of musicians on the list. Some of the names include the Gallagher brothers from Oasis, Morrissey of the Smiths, and the Joy Division frontman Ian Curtis. But not all the names on the list are from the wonderful world of music. Other names on the Star Walk included Man United's own Paul Scholes, Paralympian and 14 gold medal holder Dame Sarah Storey, and film director Danny Boyle. And that's just to name a few on our Walk of Fame. The new liquor store delivers an abundance of vintage Los Angeles while remaining true to all that is great about Manchester.
The liquor store has always been a very warm, welcoming place to come in for a fantastic drink, and down here we'll have a lot more food. Obviously we have a large kitchen, so the food offering will be very relaxed and comforting as well. The place itself has a bit of a reputation for partying late on in the evening. A lot of people say at the other liquor store they come in but they can never remember leaving.
As you may notice, on the wall behind me are the faces of some of Manchester's greats. So while you're enjoying a tutti frutti cocktail and relaxing with friends, don't forget that you're in the company of some of the greats, and they're watching you. So come on down and bask in the Mancunian atmosphere spliced with a bit of vintage LA. I have been Beth Hemmings for Quays News.
Thanks for that, Beth. Now it's over to Emily Jones with your Quays weather forecast.
Good afternoon to everyone here in Salford. Today temperatures will peak at 14 degrees Celsius and it will be partly cloudy. Tomorrow we can see a very similar pattern with temperatures peaking at 13 degrees Celsius. And do get those brollies and raincoats ready over the weekend as there may be some frequent showers. Hope you have a lovely day.
Now, Retired Not Expired is a new campaign aiming to inspire senior citizens who may be feeling a bit lonely or isolated. Anam Ahmed has been to investigate.
According to Age UK, over 1 million people say they go up to a month without speaking to a friend, neighbour or a family member. North Manchester Council Homes have launched a new campaign to fight loneliness and isolation.
It came from some of our residents actually who had the idea of celebrating the fact that they're still active well into their 60s, 70s and 80s, and they're not keen to just give up doing stuff and wait around to go somewhere else. They're very keen to keep active and keep contributing to society.
So what kind of activities do they take part in?
We've got residents that involved in all sorts of stuff really. We've got people who write, we've got people who are involved in campaigning, people involved in local community groups.
Wendy Tika is a scheme manager at the Edward Grant Court. She feels this scheme has helped form a stronger community.
Well, you try and get people who don't see anyone from one day to the other. Half of them don't have carers, so they might not see any of their family members for about a week. So it's getting people who are lonely out in the community with us. We used to have people outside who came in. In here, we'd have parties, do a lot of lunches for them, breakfasts, to bring the community together. Sitting in a flat on your own, because that's when depression kicks in.
Retired Not Expired is a new campaign launched here at the housing estate. Let's see if it actually works.
We have a little meeting here every night about 6 o'clock till 7. A few of us come down from the flats, have a chat, see how the day's gone, and it's just great.
Used to be bingo, and we have the Christmas parties, and we have a dinner every week, and there's different activities like that going on. But everybody seems quite happy and it's like one big family.
Overall, this scheme seems to be running pretty well. Anna Mahmed, Quays News.
That's it for today's show.
That's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.